Hi everyone, so it's the start of a brand new week. I've actually just finished doing my tutoring for today, so it's Monday. Just about to pack up an order, a bit late sending this off today, but wanted to make sure and get it sent off. So so just about to pack up an order, take it along to the in-post locker, get that sent off. And then we'll take you along on what we got up to this week. So if you're new, my name's Gemma, and me and my fiance James run a clothing resale business, and we basically just share how we got on each week, new things we try out, and basically different things that we got up to. So this week we've actually got a few things going on with the flat as well. I think I mentioned in the last video that we are looking at getting our kitchen renovated and things like that. So I'm actually in the kitchen just now, and as you can see, very dated, very old kitchen cabinets, old oven and things like that. So very excited because we're nearly at the point of being able to go ahead and plan and get the kitchen all booked in to get renovated, so that will be amazing. So we could share how we got on with that as well, and just everything else that we're going to get up to this week. So these are what we're sending off just now. So it's another pair of Carhartt workwear trousers actually. So last week that's what we kind of sent off at the beginning of the week. So these are kind of like a dark blue, dark grey kind of colour. So just about to send these off and then take these down to the in-post locker.
Day in the life of massaging a cat. A Chester cat.
I actually can't get over how relaxed he is.
Yeah, he's a beautiful boy.
Oh, Chester. So hello again, it's a few days later since we last caught up with you. We've actually been quite busy this week. We haven't done too much of online selling on Tilt or anything this week. However, we have been spending a lot of time getting new stock, or at least starting to get new stock. So we are now in the process of being in contact with a few new suppliers and a few new places where we can get stock from. And I think we mentioned in a previous video that we were planning on going down the more luxury vintage route. And because right now we sell obviously vintage items, a lot of vintage items, and we wanted to go down sort of more luxury items, so things like Gucci, Louis Vuitton, even Chanel, Dior, things like that. So so we're now in the process of actually being able to pick out a few items and a few bundles of items. So so we're kind of like trying to decide what kind of route to go down. So at the moment, we have actually managed to find a vintage Louis Vuitton Keppel bag. I think it's from the 80s or 90s, really nice piece, got a really good deal on that, and then a couple of Gucci items as well. And then we're also looking at trying to get some of like Louis Vuitton wallets and things, because those are the kind of things that they're small, they're quite low, low cost, they're not too expensive, and hopefully we'll be able to sell them quite quickly. And obviously they're all, as I said, vintage designer items, so that's really exciting. So we're kind of in the process of doing that. We've been working a lot on that this week. That's what we've been focusing on. Have actually sold, well, I'm saying sold, had an offer on an item, one of our customised Levi vintage denim jackets. So we're actually just waiting on getting that, the person paying for that. Hopefully we'll get it paid for today so we can get it sent out, because I quite like if they pay for it or if they buy it in the morning to try and get it sent out the same day, or if they pay for it the night before, get it sent out the next day. So I'll just go and grab it, let you see what it is as well, and kind of show you our other kind of customised pieces that we do as well. So this purple one that's got the sort of purple and black dye on it, this is the one that we've actually just sold. So it is authentic Levi's, vintage Levi's, and you can kind of see, you can't really see obviously too close up. So it has got really cool patterns on the back. I'll just kind of hang it so you can see the back. So so it's got kind of purple and black tie-dye. It's been permanently tie-dyed, and then there's a few other jackets I'm just going to kind of show you that we've done. So I tie-dyed these myself, and they've all turned out really good. So this is the one that we've actually sold. So as I said, I'm hoping that this one, the person who's purchased it will pay for it kind of soon, so that we can get that that sent off. It's always so nice when somebody buys something that you've actually either customized or created. It's a little bit more personal. But here's some of the other ones. So this one here is a sort of cropped jacket, and as you can see, it's got kind of pink and coral dye on it. Pretty sure the brand is Etam, I think, vintage Etam. And in this one here, this is actually vintage Bay Trading. And again, the colours on this one are really cool. Like they're kind of pink, orange and purple. And yeah, just a really, really cool colour combination. I'll just let you see the back as well. This is actually a favourite of mine. I was very tempted to keep this one. So I'm not blocking the light. But again, yeah, permanent dye. And then this one here is another vintage Levi's one. And this one is quite bright. So it's pink, orange and yellow dye. And it's kind of a slightly different way of tie dyeing. It's like scrunching material rather than making like the sunburst pattern that we've got on those three. So this one's quite different. It's more of like a scrunched pattern. Almost looks kind of like that kind of cow print you get, but in like obviously neon colours. And this is a, as I said, a vintage Levi's one. So yeah, the one that was sold already, we've actually sold another vintage Levi's one, was actually a turquoise, like a turquoise and blue one. It was really, yeah, it was really nice. That one actually got sold to somebody in Canada, I think, ended up buying it. And I think it was from Etsy. They bought it on our Etsy store. So there's a little bit of me that thinks maybe I should have went down the route of more kind of blues and turquoise colours, because obviously those could be quite unisex, like, you know, depending on who wants it. Whereas I feel like the colours that we've got now, maybe not so much the purple, but definitely the pink and things like that is maybe more, maybe a bit too feminine for obviously everybody. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about in this video was how you decide how much you need to invest when you're starting a new business or a new reselling business, and where to kind of be a bit more, you know, conscious of your budget and a bit more scrappy with how much you're spending. So initially when we started out, we knew that we wanted to, or we needed to obviously spend money on stock. That was one of the sort of things that obviously you know you need to spend money on, because otherwise you won't have anything to sell. So another area that we knew that we wanted to spend money on was obviously setting up our Shopify website. And this is because we still very much believe that we want to have our own website and our own domain. We just feel like when it comes to building relationships with customers and things, that when we have your own website, you've got a bit more authority, you're a bit more trustworthy, you know, you come across more legit and things like that. And obviously we sell through our website as well. So if people do want to purchase through our website rather than say the likes of Depop or Vinted or whatever, then they can. Obviously that benefits us because depending on what platform you sell on, or if you've boosted an item or things like that, it's less, you pay less fees. So obviously if you do sell on things like Etsy, and depending on what platform you sell on, you might have to pay fees for using those platforms. Whereas for Shopify, obviously you are paying for your website, but then you're not paying for like a listing fee and a selling fee and all these other fees that can kind of crop up. So so we knew that we wanted to have our own website right from the beginning, but not always necessarily to sell things on, but to also build up a bit of authority and just to sort of come across obviously more legit and things like that as well, and just sort of make sure that our customers are confident, you know, have a lot of confidence in us. So another financial decision we had to make obviously was about stock and deciding what kind of things we were going to sell. Obviously that really determines how much you're going to be spending on stock. So if you're selling things that are obviously a bit more expensive anyway, you're probably going to have to invest a bit more on stock because your stock's going to be more expensive. Obviously if you're going to be buying things that are a bit more affordable, you won't have to spend as much, just obviously common sense. So and I think as well, and one thing to keep in mind is not just how much money you're investing, but obviously your time as well. So we have tried out a few different things. I think I mentioned it in our last video when we were talking about getting started. We tried out a few different ways of sourcing stock, and definitely feel like our time is probably more valuable than maybe saving a few pound on an item. So we tried out obviously buying from wholesaler, so buying like a big bundle of something. Now, when you're purchasing things like that, and it's just say a bundle of say 50 pieces, there is going to be a few duds in there. It's just kind of, you know, part of it. Like we bought a bundle for obviously vintage clothing, and we've got some great finds in there, things like a Carhartt workwear jacket, which is worth over £100, a few other nice big thick jackets, thick knitwear, Ralph Lauren, all really good condition. But then it's not like the pieces that we got weren't great condition, they actually all were. We've not actually had anything from any of the wholesalers we've worked with that have been poor condition. It's just that they're a bit generic pieces, things that aren't really, maybe they're not going to shift quick because they're not unique enough, or they're a bit, the colours are a bit boring, like grey and things like that, or the sizing as well. Like a lot of sort of pieces that we go for are menswear, so you know the more common sizes that shift quicker are things medium upwards, whereas something that's a small or an extra small in menswear is a little bit, takes a bit longer to sell. Obviously we do sort of market it as unisex and things like that, but it still, you know, it still takes a little bit longer. So those are things to kind of consider when you are buying in bulk, that there will be things that are not going to maybe shift very quick, that you're going to have to lower the price on, or that you're not going to be really able to sell at all and you might have to make a bit of a loss on. But you know, the good pieces that you get within that more than make up for it. Like everything we've sold so far, we've made a profit on. It's quite funny when we were going through all the pieces that we got in our sort of wholesale box, we could tell right away which pieces were going to sell quick. Like it was things like, you know, the sort of nice sort of vintage windbreakers that are in really unique colours, things like that, or things that are just a little bit different. Those are the things that sell quick. And I have to say, one of the things that I found quite valuable from getting the wholesale boxes is it's things that they're included in there that you wouldn't maybe necessarily pick out yourself and think that, oh, actually they'll be really popular. So it gives you a little bit of chance to try a few different things and see what sells. So for example, I think I've mentioned this again before, we've actually had like 3 different workwear jackets, like the navy blue workwear jackets with the collars, and we found that you know, the 3 that we got, 2 of them were quite badly damaged, as in like paint on them, buttons missing, you know, they'd been really well worn, but they were vintage, they were still really cool. And then we had one that was perfect. It's the one that's perfect that we're left with, and that's the one that we've had to lower the price on and that we're still trying to sell. The 2 that were completely damaged sold like so quick. And I would have never have thought that. Like I would have never have picked those out as being things to sell. I would have been like, oh no, they're too damaged, like we can't sell those. So I feel like getting a wholesale bundle is actually not only well worth the money because you're getting quite a lot of things for quite a small price per item, but it's also gives you the chance to learn what sells, and that's the part that's probably really valuable. You're getting to sort of list lots of different things, figure out what sells to your audience, and then in the future you can just buy more of that, and then you don't have to then go and buy things that aren't going to sell for you. So I do feel like the wholesale bundles are definitely worth investing in, because and not only that you learn from, you know, what you can sell, you also get a good, you know, sort of cost per piece. You know, you're getting a good bargain. So another thing that makes buying a wholesale bundle worth it is your time, because you know, you buy one thing, you purchase one load of stock, and that's, you've got like 40, 50 or however many pieces of items you've purchased all in one go, and you're not having to go around searching for them. So it definitely saves you time. So even though we're talking about just now really money investing, I do think you need to think about investing your time, but also your knowledge as well. And that is something that you really gain, I think, from getting one of those wholesale bundles. So they're definitely worth, I would say, investing in from, you know, right at the very beginning, especially if you're not too sure what direction you want to go with your business. One thing that we did find that maybe wasn't too worth it was going around things like charity shops and even looking on places like Vinted, eBay, online and things, because you end up spending so much time, and then when you do find something, that's only one item, and then you buy it, and then you have to wait on it getting delivered, and then you can't sell it obviously until you've had it delivered, and then there's always that risk that it turns up and it's not quite what you were expecting, or it's maybe not in the condition you were expecting, or it's needing cleaned, and you know, all those kind of things. Whereas all the wholesalers we've worked with, everything's turned up, and even though we have cleaned it when we've gotten it, everything that we've got on has been cleaned. Like you can literally smell the laundry smell off of it. And so yeah, I definitely think for us, the wholesaler side of things, going down the wholesaler route and getting bundles is probably well worth the money, your time and your learning compared to buying individual items, especially if you're not totally sure what you're wanting to sell just yet. So another area that we found worth investing in was buying business cards. So we actually waited until a few months into our business before we did this, and the reason that we did this is because we found that a lot of the places that we were selling our items, for example Vinted and Depop and things like that, there was no way for us to kind of recontact the people apart from messaging them obviously on Vinted and Depop and kind of draw them into like our world, I suppose, like our Instagram account, our website and things like that, because on these platforms you have to be very careful what you say. You're not allowed to kind of share outside details and your account could get flagged and things like that. So we wanted to make sure there was a way that we could keep in contact, or they could follow us, look at our website, whatever, on their own accord if they liked what they bought. So definitely thought a good way about doing this would be to put our business cards in with the packages, because these customers are already people who've bought from us, and hopefully if they liked what they got and they liked the customer service, they would come back to us again. And definitely been well worth it, because we've actually managed to find somebody who is actually wanting to kind of use our sourcing side of our business from them being really happy with something they bought from us on, I think it was Depop that they bought it from. But yeah, so definitely worth investing in some sort of either business card or flyer, just something that you can put within your packages so that people can remember you, and obviously have all your contact details, whatever it is you're wanting to share, whether it's your Instagram account, your website, your email, whatever on it. That has definitely been well worth it. And to be quite honest with you, you can get 100 business cards for like under £20, and so it's quite a low cost thing, and obviously it's great marketing as well. So a couple of other things that we did really find worthwhile investing in at the very beginning was a couple of things to help with making our items look better. So we invested in a clothes steamer. Now we did this because obviously when we were photographing items, we wanted to make sure they were nice and smooth and they looked really good. And again, you can get something like a steamer off of Amazon for, I want to say, under £20 or maybe £20-30. So and obviously we can use it as well if we wanted to, like on our personal clothes. So that was definitely well worth investing in, very low cost as well. And obviously you can use it on all your items that you're photographing to make them look more professional and more put together, and obviously you want your photos to look as good as you can make them look. Another thing that we got, which was again definitely well worth the money, especially if you are reselling second-hand items and vintage items, is a clothes debobbler. So that's like a sort of little tool that you use, a little electronic tool that you run over the fabric, and it takes off all the little bubbles, the little pilling bits of fabric, and it just makes things that are, especially with knitwear, it makes them look brand new. And we've actually done that on quite a few of our items that we've got that looked pretty tatty. If you were just selling that or seeing that in a charity shop, you would probably think, oh, you would maybe only sell it for a few pounds. But we've actually completely refurbished pieces of clothing by doing this, by giving them a wash, by debobbling them, and honestly they look brand new. So now I want to talk about things that we've kind of held back on spending with. So one of the big areas that we definitely do not recommend spending on is ads. So I want a little bit of a caveat with that as well. So we obviously have our Instagram, Vinted, Depop shop, all that kind of stuff. We have spent in the past a little bit of money on ads on Instagram. Completely not worth it. Like, especially if you're a brand new account. If you're a really big account and you've got quite a bit of money coming in, you're already established, that's completely different. But when you're just starting out, I really do not recommend spending any money on ads, because especially if you're a new account and you don't have much content, you don't have much things up already, fair enough, you might get people onto your account, but then when they're there, they're maybe not really going to stick around because you're maybe too new. So yeah, don't recommend spending money on like Instagram, Facebook ads or anything like that. I also don't recommend really spending money on the Vinted, like boosting your listings, or I don't know if it's called boost, it's called something else. Yeah, we'll just call it boost. When you boost your Vinted listings, we've not really had any success with that either, and obviously you're actually paying money out of your pocket, and if your thing doesn't sell, you're out of pocket. The one thing that I do recommend spending money on is Depop boosts. So annoyingly on Depop, they don't show you how many views you've had on an item until you boost it, which to me is a bit annoying. Like on Vintage, you can see how many views, how many favourites, things like that. On Depop, they don't show you that unless you boost it, which is a little bit frustrating. However, the boosts on there do work. Like I feel like things that we've boosted has really increased the views. We've actually made quite a few sales from boosting things, and the good thing about Depop boosts is that you only pay once it sells, so they just take like a really small percentage once it sells. So I think that way around is definitely a better way of doing it rather than paying money up front. So I would recommend doing Depop, but probably not anything where you're having to be out of pocket and then you don't know if you're going to get the results that you want. So another area that we have spent a little bit of money on, but we've not went all out, is our packaging. So I think just now we've just got basic kind of, parcel bags, things like that. We don't have any fancy packaging. We've just recently started putting our business cards in with our packages, and to be quite honest with you, all our customers seem really happy. Obviously in the future that is something we'll probably want to kind of make a little bit better, a little bit more premium, but it's definitely not something that you need to be spending lots of money on in the beginning. As I said, the little postage bags, depending on what you're selling, obviously work perfectly fine. So another area that we've not spent a lot of money on is doing our own kind of branding and things. So I mean, really for our branding, it literally is just our logo that we put on all our shops, just so that they all look the same. And obviously any banners or anything that might need to go on any graphics and things that might need to go on our shop. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend, if you can do a little logo in the likes of Canva, you could even get ChatGPT to put a logo together for you, or some sort of AI platform. And yeah, so again, if further down the line, if you did want to change your branding and make it a little bit more bespoke, a little bit more unique and things like that, you obviously could pay somebody to do it for you. But if you can put something together in Canva, and there's lots of templates that you can use that you can then just tweak, I would definitely recommend doing that and not spending money on like professional branding, brand colours and things like that just yet. And then obviously that branding can be used everywhere. It can be used on your website, your business cards, your online shops like Depop and Vintage and things like that, and it just makes it look cohesive, but you do not need to spend anything on branding. So that's just a bit of an overview of what we decided to spend money on, what we'd recommend is actually worth spending money on at the beginning, and what is maybe better to hold off until maybe you've made a little bit of money, or until you decide if it's worth it. So hopefully that is helpful if you are starting a business or a reselling business. If you find anything in this video helpful, make sure and like the video and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I'll see you in our next video. Bye just now.